Good morning. So, thank you for joining me live or later. Dr. Trudy, oops, let me change my glasses. Da, 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 da. Yeah, this is happening live, right? Flaws and all. Dr. Trudy Berman here, and I really wanted to talk to professionals who are especially 45 years and older. So if that's you, lean in. Stop selling and sharing like it's pre-COVID, pre-2019. Stop. You have got to become relevant and get with the times. If your business survived COVID, congratulations. You have the foundational chops to keep going. But some of you have come online since COVID. I just had a conversation with a professional who they're good at what they do. So I work with a lot of subject matter experts. Subject matter experts are you're good at what you do. And whether it's because you got laid off or you got tired of the system or the job you had, you saw that things could be done better and you know you have the exact idea of how something should be done and you said, I'm going to start my own business. Fantastic. I just completed my doctorate and I focused in my research on specifically the online coaching space, but it had a larger application to those of you in business. And one of the things that came out was the need for that online dominance and online expertise. So a lot of businesses failed pre-COVID simply because you did not have an online presence. You didn't figure out how to make that online transition. So a lot of businesses that had the ability, they had their staff around them and everything, and so the manager could come up and flex their presence and all of that. The moment they went online, my research captured that leadership in the online space looks very different from leadership in a physical environment, where sometimes your physical presence is enough to create people's urgency to get things done. So when businesses moved online, for those that managed to move online, they realized the online space is a very different work environment. And those that never made it online, a lot of great companies disappeared during that COVID era. And some who were like literally fledgling companies at the time, simply because they embraced the online space, they blossomed. For those of you that either survived the COVID experience or you've come online since, I'm speaking especially the 45 plus professionals. Why 45 plus? Because we didn't grow up with tablets and phones in our hands, okay? The generation behind us has more tech savvy. They have been exposed. The internet came up when I wasn't a full adult, okay? But our children have grown up with the internet. So what has happened is during the COVID experience, it didn't really so much disrupt the market as it revealed it. So those that were able to figure out the online experience thrive. This is why telemedicine has not only emerged but has scaled. Doctors and teachers and professionals who were not online had to come online during COVID, because with the lockdown and all of us being isolated, we were so dependent on the internet to get access to information, desperately desired information. And so you found out a lot of doctors and teachers came online. It was during that era that the school that my son was in, when he was in the K through 12 experience, that was the first time that they embraced e-learning, whereas many universities already had remote learning already established. So a lot of professionals found that they had to come online during the COVID experience. But guess what? The world has not returned to pre-COVID. That launched an online experience which moved your competitor from being 2 doors down or you're in your geographical vicinity to an online global competitive market. Especially when you're talking about the coaching space or the professional services space, you will find that you are here. I'm in Tampa, Florida, but a lot of my clients are from overseas. Before COVID, and I was in the TV studio, I needed people to physically come to the TV studio. So either they were in the Tampa Bay area or they were willing to travel to the Tampa Bay area. When COVID hit, I was like, how am I going to deal, how am I going to get my TV thing going? And then, I had already been using Zoom, and then Zoom, the whole application of being able to go online and still have television shows created via Zoom just allowed my business to continue to exist. But what it also did was it opened up new opportunities. So now I have guests from Australia, from Canada, from Africa, from all over the world who I was not able to serve before because they weren't willing to travel. Travel can be very, very expensive. So the internet and just totally force businesses to understand that they needed to have an online presence. So some of you, I go to a lot of networking meetings right now here in the Tampa Bay area, and I can't tell you how many of these professionals that I am handshaking with, sharing business cards and all that, they have zero online presence, or maybe they have a website and the website's not doing very much for them, and so they think that because they have the website and it's not doing much for them that they really don't need much of an online presence, and that is so wrong. It's because you have not figured out how to do it right. So you see, in the past, pre-COVID, a lot of businesses were depending on referrals and reputation and proximity for their authority. But in this era now, and nothing has returned since pre-COVID, although some companies are trying, right? So remote work definitely blossomed during the COVID era, and while some organizations are trying to pull back and bring back to, you have to be in the office, remote work has not gone away. Freelancers and contract-based work has not gone away, and it's, a lot of lawyers, for example, even though they have an office space, many of them work from home and will pop in on meetings or whatever. The online experience is not going anywhere. Either you figure it out and figure out how to maximize on it, or you're going to find that despite your years of experience and credentials and results and all of those things, that you are going to fall behind to your younger competitors who just freshly got their certificate or just came online and just came into the business space, but because their names have been pinging on the interwebs all this time, the algorithm says they are the experts, and they're not. They're just tech savvy. They've just figured out presence, online presence on the internet. So now authority has got to be searchable. Your authority has got to be searchable. Now I'm in my office, you can't really see it, but I've got all these certificates hanging on the wall. Now, the fact that I'm a doctor, I've finished my PhD and I had my master's in counseling and all these other credentials that I have, if I didn't have these findable online, then yet I have them, they're hanging on the wall, but the internet would not know to recommend me and my services when people are looking for the very things that I do. That's what's happening to many of you. So authority needs to be searchable, and video, guys, is the next best thing to meeting you in person. In the past, they talk about first impressions matter, but in the past, that first impression would be because you showed up in a space, you showed up somewhere on stage or in a room or whatever. Today, before someone meets you in person, they've already had a first impression via your online presence or your lack of it. So you need to have your authority searchable. You need to be creating video. You should be, the public before would depend on being in a classroom to learn. Now online education is a thing, and many are self-educating to the point where universities are becoming, they need to retool, because the challenge to the value of degrees today is becoming challenged. And many of these Ivy League schools have even created free courses because the information is sometimes more valuable than the certification. So self-education is huge, and a lot of your business is coming from people who have done their research before they have decided to make a purchase. And sometimes they've done the online research, they've figured out exactly what they want, and they've narrowed down the options of where they're going to get it from. And then the last piece is to meet you, whether in video on a chat or in person, and they're at this point not learning about you, but narrowing down their options. So you have got to be creating opportunities online for people to learn more about you and what you do, so that they have the information they need to make those educated decisions. So first impressions are also happening online long before they meet you in person. The whole point of this video today, especially pre-2026, I'm really trying to activate some of you to get finally to, your business. You've seen it probably struggling, and you're figuring, oh, it's the algorithm that doesn't like you, or the young upstart is getting all the attention, and what happened to you because you have, or worse, you've had to train your replacement. Guys, it's not because what you know is not valuable, but because you are becoming digitally irrelevant. And this is sad, because you have the decades of experience, the credentials, the results. You've done the iterations of your thing so many times that you have wisdom that only comes with time and saturation in your space. So to just fizzle away because the internet is not saying you are the expert is sad. And I'm really trying to activate many of you that, yeah, you may have, a couple social posts and a website. That is not going to do it. That's not going to do it. That's not going to cut it, because the algorithm loves consistency, not history. Okay? And one moment. So your experience is powerful, but if it is unfindable, you are missing out. Waiting to retool is very dangerous. A lot of years has already gone by, and many of you have done absolutely nothing. I think I went off track. I had a conversation with an expert who started their own business. I think they got laid off. And so they figured, at their age, because when you're 50 plus, guys, it gets harder to get a job, because when they'll tell you things like, you're overqualified. And that is code for that you may know more than the boss, and they don't like that. That's an ego thing. Or they're going to think that because of your prior paycheck and your years of experience, you're going to expect more than they're planning to pay. And all of that. So here's the thing. So some of these people are now trying to start their own business, but your work will not speak for itself. I hate to say it, but your work will not speak for itself. And those of you who refuse to come online, refuse to post on social, refuse to do the videos, just refuse to do that because you think, oh, you're an expert and that alone should do it for you. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to create a findable, authoritative signal, and repeat those signals often enough for the internet to say, this is not a one-off outlier situation. This is a thing. This is a repeatable thing. This is a solid thing. So you have got to decide to do that. Otherwise, your best bet is to stay an employee. Your best bet is to stay in your expertise as an employee, where the entrepreneur who's willing to do all of that will capitalize on your skill, your ability, and they will make the profit that you could potentially be making for yourself, simply because they're willing to take the risk. Yes, there is a risk involved in being an entrepreneur. There is a risk, and that's why many of you have JOBs, because you're not willing to take the risk. Okay, fine, nothing's wrong with that. But if you are forced into being an entrepreneur simply because you've been laid off or whatever, or you've decided to take a stab at it, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. And to survive. Now, according to, when I was doing my doctorate research, one of the pieces of data that came up is that according to the SBA, 18% of startups fail in year 1, and by year 5, 50% are gone. Now, PSI TV is an arm of Profitable Stewardship Inc., which was formed in 2015, and actually that was a rebrand of my business that was formed in 2012. So really, it's if you look through the archives of when the business officially started, it's going to say 2015, but that was really a rebrand. But the moment you rebrand and you form a new company, then the clock starts over. So what I did this time was, when I started PSI TV in 2019, I did a DBA, doing business as. I didn't form a new company. I just simply put, so in other words, the history's there. But even at 2019, I'm way beyond the 5-year mark, guys, because if you're going to survive what it takes to be an entrepreneur that gets beyond year 1 and certainly beyond year 5, this is not a fly-by-night thing, and your expertise is not going to speak for you. It is not. Your degrees hanging on the wall are not visible online unless you do the things that you need to do to make it visible online. So you want to build authority like your future depends on it, because it does. I have 2 offers for you. One is my free game of influence. There will be a link after I'm done with this video. I'll put it in the description. The game of influence maps out what it takes to have niche domination, online niche domination, digital niche domination, and it is a free game experience. So it's an online game. It will roll a dice and move you through. If you play the whole thing, you'll have experienced 40 different game tiles, which basically walks you through what it takes to have internet domination. Now, I'm not going to say I'm any big deal, okay, but I am ahead of many of you. So a lot of you, if you look for me, if you look for my name, you'll find my smaller channel, which is the one I'm on right now, the Trudy Beerman YouTube. But I have PSI TV as a YouTube channel as well. That has like 23,000 subscribers. I did that on purpose, but remember, I'm really on TV. So my data, my information, I built that on the television, airwaves, Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Vita TV. And I came to the social space for the same reason that I'm telling you, you need to do it. Because you also need to be findable, and you need to have multiple touch points to reinforce who you are, so that you are where your audience is. They're not looking for you, guys. You have to go looking for them. In the same way that Jesus went to Peter when he was on the boat with his father and called him. Okay, you have to go where your audience is so they can see you and connect with you. They are not looking for you, my friend. They are not looking for you. You have to be where they are, and then you have to create the kind of digital presence that has authoritative signals. So over time, my plan, now that I'm done with school, I'm going to be leaning in more and growing that online digital proof, partly because I am my own case study, because if I've done it for me, it can be done. And if it can be done, you can get it done. And also my own stats are going to show you that I'm not just talking the talk. I am not only from the academic space, which I have studied at the highest level, but I have implemented and I have walked the space. And because I have done the trial and error and the expense of the trial and error, I can help you accomplish what I've accomplished in half the time without the cost, because I've already done it. I've already worked through all the aspects of what doesn't work, what's a waste of time, what is going to give you more bang for the buck. So in addition to the game of influence, which is a free experience, I do have a very low ticket REACHology Score, which is a more powerful version because it speaks directly to your specific identity and your visibility gaps online. So it is, both of these are based off of my 5 pillars of influential reach. So my book REACHology, available on Amazon, for example. My REACHology book, I should have had it here to show it to you, but my REACHology book captures a deep dive onto the 5 pillars of influential reach. And the book alone will help you. So if you can't afford to work directly with me, consider purchasing the book and consider getting the very low ticket REACHology Score. The REACHology Score is going to have an opportunity for you to input your data, all the things about you, all your degrees, all of the books you've written, all of those things that you have done that you think people will find, but they won't find, guys. That book is sitting in a shelf right here on to the left of me, and you know, chances are, if I didn't even mention it, you wouldn't even know I had the book, right? So the point is, you put in the data of all your degrees, all the years of your experience, all of those things. you answer all the questions in the data form. And here's what the REACHology Score specifically does. It tries to match all of your facts, your credentials, the things that are real about you to what is findable online. And a lot of times there's a huge gap because, yeah, I have my doctoral certificates hanging right here, but if there's no mention of it online, then yeah, it's real, but it's not findable online. So the REACHology Score is going to take your specific data, try to find its internet match, and where it doesn't find the internet match, it's going to red flag that as certain areas that we need to close the visibility gap on, and then it's going to spit out a pretty detailed report of your potential next steps. Now, should you work with me one-on-one in our signature Nom de Valeur program, then in addition to those steps, there are additional things that I will go through, some of which one of the first things is to prioritize some of those steps, because yes, it's going to give you a list of things to do, but maybe some of them are, you better off if you waited on those. So the REACHology Score is awesome. It is going to be a starting point for anybody I work with, but it can be a standalone opportunity for you to figure out exactly where you are digitally and then start to DIY the steps to close your visibility online. So Dr. Trudy Behrman here. I am hopefully agitating and activating some of you who truly have expertise at what you have done. Maybe you've written a book to document your expertise, but you have got to stop treating visibility, stop treating your expertise like it was pre-COVID. COVID has launched us into a brand new era, and online digital visibility is very, very important. So build your authority online like your future depends on it, because it does. Dr. Trudy Behrman here. I am super simple to find, and I do look forward to connecting and working with you.